Hello, my name's Steven.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Dawson.
And welcome to the Brothers
Bjorn.
Podcast?
Excellent.
Like I said, Bjorn.
Unlikely. All right. Welcome back to the Brothers Born podcast, folks. It is Kevin and I's privilege to introduce our guest and recurring guest, Dawson. Hey, Dawson.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Dawson's he's going to be a guest judge on a throwdown. It's been a while since we've done a throwdown. So
I think
Dawson,
the last one we did was with Brendan as a guest, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because it was Rick Grimes versus the Shredder.
Yeah, that's right. Rick Grimes versus the Shredder. It was right after a zombie apocalypse. I think you wanted a theme. You were like, oh, we're going to do a zombie related character. So you picked Rick Grimes. And I'm like, oh, yeah, the Shredder. But
that's right. I don't have any sort of theme with my character today.
So, Dawson, so I know you've listened to the show. I don't think you've ever done a throwdown before, have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so here's how it's going to go. I picked a character. Kevin picked a character. And we're going to do a little intro each, then we're going to have some banter back and forth and say why our character would win in this throwdown. Now, there are a couple things to consider. Obviously, some character who's really weak might not do so great against, for example, the Hulk or something like that. But, so you kind of have to scale it a little bit based on the information we provide. But I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. I'm pretty excited about my character. Kevin, you excited about yours?
Not so much, to be honest. I was excited initially, but then when I found that there's an extreme lack of information on my character, I'm a little worried.
All right. Well, mine's got not as much information as like a superhero, but there's a fair amount a little bit out there. So, Dawson, you're the judge today. Who would you like to introduce their character first? And the way we typically do this is we give a little bit of information, and we have to try and guess. The other two have to try and guess who the character is before I give away the name, or before Kevin gives away the name.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Awesome. All right. Let's have. Well, sounds like Steve's is going to be a little bit easier to guess than Kevin. So let's have Steve go first.
All right. My character was born in 1948. He is a Vietnam veteran. He is very well trained as a commando, very skilled with with guns, firearms, a machete as well. As he evolves in his particular story arc, he becomes proficient in alien technology as well, as far as weapons and things are concerned. So it's pretty cool for him. He is the actor who portrays him he's really well known for quotes. He's one of the most quoted actors of all time, probably. And a couple of those quotes come from this particular character. So let me give you just a couple of them. The first one's a little more difficult, but it's kind of on the dark side. So I'm going to say, quote, come on, do it, come on, kill me, I'm here, kill me, I'm here, kill me, come on, kill me, I'm here, come on, do it now, kill me.
I know who it is. Somehow I knew you were going to go this route. I didn't know if this specific character, but I knew you were going to go with the character from this franchise. I knew you were going to go to a character from this franchise. I know who it is.
The deadpan way Steve was just like, come on, kill me. Come on, kill me. Come on. Bro, the actor did not deliver those lines like that.
And that's a pretty accurate description, actually.
So let me give you another quote. Let's spice it up because I'm really excited about these quotes. Quote, if it bleeds, we can kill it. End quote. One of my favorite more quip remarks from this particular film is he throws a machete at a guy and pins him to a post, and he says, stick around. And of course, probably the most quoted movie quote of all time, quote, run, go, get to the chopper, end quote.
So you're of course talking about Dutch from the Predator series. The
Yes.
Predator. I knew you were going to go with the character from the Predator. I didn't know which one, but I thought you were going to go with the actual Predator. I knew you were going to go with the character from the Predator.
I'm on this Predator kick right now.
That's true.
I was kind of hoping he was going with Danny Glover's character.
That would have been pretty sweet, actually.
I was like, oh, it's the Predator. It's definitely the Predator.
But I watched Prey, and then I watched Predator. Then last week I watched Predator 2. Today, after this podcast, I'm gonna watch Predator versus Alien. I'm on this like thing right now, and I just can't stop. So I thought it'd be appropriate to do something I'm passionate about right now, and that is
I will say this might actually be kind of like pretty well matched throwdown, to be honest. You probably have more information on your character than I have on mine, however. So I'll give you a little background. My character is a traveling musician who, due through a circumstance of mistaken identity, becomes a gunfighter. He lives in Mexico.
Yes. I know who it is.
He's been betrayed by 2 different actors.
Oh man, I know who it is, I think.
I'll give you one quote from the third movie. There's 3 movies in the series. From the third movie, which is, "I have no choice but to kill you all."
I don't know his name, but is it El Mariachi?
Yeah, it's El Mariachi.
El Mariachi. Yeah.
What's his name?
That's his name.
That's his name, yeah.
Nobody knows his actual name.
Man, this is gonna be pretty good. These guys are both pretty well trained, I'd say.
Man, this is tough. This is awesome.
One fact I forgot. I wanted to do this in the intro. My character, Dutch, he is so well liked in the community of science that they actually named a goblin spider after him. And the goblin spider is the Predatornuops Dutch. That's its scientific genus name. There's also, they made one for a bunch of characters, Dylan, the Predatornuops Dylan, and then they made some for all the characters in there's 29 different specimens they found, and they named them after Predator characters.
Before we get into this, can we talk about the absolute best scene from any Predator movie, or any movie really? The most if you were to describe Hollywood machoism into one scene, it's from that movie. And it's right in the beginning where he comes in, Arnold Schwarzenegger comes in, and he sees his CIA buddy. He's like, "Dylan, you son of a bitch." And then they have that arm wrestling competition in midair.
The bro moment.
That is one of my favorite scenes ever, because it the camera zooms in on their bulgy biceps. They're all covered in baby oil. You're just man, this is the greatest thing ever.
So I know we're going to get into the throwdown also, but Sonny, you mentioned macho. There's I read this article about how Predator is symbolic of machismo, and how each character who dies, it goes in order of least macho to most macho, and it's a commentary on their masculinity. I thought it was kind of interesting, so it's definitely worth looking up. If you want to make some
character that's murdered in each movie is just the least macho first, or
in the first movie. So the first guy, he kind of overcompensates and tells a lot of dirty jokes about his girlfriend, and he and then he's the first one to go. And the second guy to die is a guy who has this giant Gatling gun on his back, and so and then the last character who dies is one that lasts second to last. He's the most macho of them, and they actually don't show his death on screen, so it's giving him respect because of his actual. No, this is kind of interesting, but
interesting.
That's not what we're here though. Today we're going to talk about why Dutch and El Mariachi are the crazy battle that would ensue here.
I'm trying to figure out how this would even happen. Although, no, I guess there's potential for it. I don't know why Dutch would fight El Mariachi though.
So in the Predator movie, he's going to Guatemala to take out some smugglers of sorts, kidnappers, traffickers, drug traffickers and things. So maybe something there. Maybe El Mariachi's involved in some sort of business with the cartel.
El Mariachi does have a history of having a case of mistaken identity. So maybe, maybe Dutch goes into Mexico to go take care of some business and mistakes El Mariachi as a cartel member, which would be really suck for El Mariachi, because that's his whole thing, is he's fighting the cartels.
Fighting the cartel, right?
Yeah.
And that makes
a bummer, right? He's now everybody thinks he's ooh, what if they he kind of looks like the guy, the leader of the cartel.
And it's interesting because Dutch just does have a code, at least up to the first Predator movie, where he doesn't do assassination missions. He does rescue missions, and that's the whole thing. Dylan like tricked him into doing this like murder mission when he really is just there to rescue people. So I think there might be initially some conflict for him where he wouldn't necessarily want to kill El Mariachi. He's in a rescue situation that, and the two of them get pinned against each other in this in a unique way.
So I think, El Mariachi is trying to save his girl. He's always trying to save his girl, right?
From the cartel.
He's always trying to save his girl from the cartel.
He has the worst luck with women, by the way.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible, right?
Like,
so depressing.
Dude, so ladies who are listening to this, don't fall in love with El Mariachi because you will end up dying if you do.
Like, for sure.
But you can fall in love with Antonio Banderas. That is okay. Because, I mean, honestly.
Right.
That's true. My wife went through an Antonio Banderas phase for a while where she had kind of a thing for him. But anyway.
Lots of rose petals around the house.
So this is kind of a hard one because we both don't have a lot. You probably have more information than I do, but we have a lot of information about our characters, and neither one of them have like superpowers. They're just normal, like masculine guys.
Yeah.
So I will say, like physical strength, I think you probably have the upper hand.
Yeah, he's freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger, man.
Yeah.
He's like when he's like on the biceps and.
But what's interesting is El Mariachi. So you mentioned that Dutch was like, trained and stuff like as a U.S. Special Forces, whatever. El Mariachi doesn't have that going for him. So he's just a guitar player. He's a mariachi, wants to be a traveling musician. But because it's like a mistaken identity, people think he's a hitman.
Yeah.
And so they try to like take him out. And so he finds himself like, because he has a guitar. And it got switched with like an actual hitman's guitar, which was full of guns. So now he has guns, and they mistake him for the hitman, of course. So they try to kill him, and then he ends up having to defend himself. And that's in the first movie. So in like the first movie, he's still kind of like he's just defending himself. He doesn't really have like a lot of abilities. But as movies progress, he becomes like a more better gunfighter as the movies progress.
Yeah. So here's interesting then. Before he gets his cases switched, the Predator would not have even bothered with him.
That's
true. But then he gets his guitar case switched, and the Predator suddenly, I gotta get that guy. That's
don't. If Amar actually has his guitar full of guns, you're done. Like that dude. He's just like he's like a master gunman. Like he never misses. He's like just really and he has, I guess, where his advantage is. And he does sort of have a bit of a superpower is he has extreme luck in combat.
I think both of these guys do.
Like, it doesn't matter how many guns you draw on this dude, you cannot shoot him for some reason.
Oh yeah, no, running right through the field of bullets.
Yeah. Like it's in Desperado, in that scene where he's at that bar and there's like 6 dudes, or there's like a bunch of dudes, and they're just like shooting at him, and he's just like none of them hit him.
Dude, he needs to like teach the stormtroopers from Star Wars a little bit, because they get shot in the most ridiculous ways sometimes. Or let me give you a little. I'm gonna make a little point here, and then you can toss it back and forth. I do agree that this would be a tricky battle because I think neither one of them have ill intent. They both Dutch has like killed people before, but he doesn't kill just for the sake of killing though. He's mindful of his kills. Much like the Predator, which is interesting. But like I said, he's a commando, Vietnam veteran. He knows how to use, he's really got his M16 with a grenade launcher, because that's just what you do. And then he also, like I said, he never uses it in the movie, but he has a Desert Eagle firearm as well. Like a pistol.
That's kind of a pointless gun, but okay.
But maybe that is just a little cool. It increases the macho-ness. I don't know. But he also, aside from regular weapons, you saw all the traps that he created for the Predator. That's pretty awesome. So he can do a lot of damage. He's very well. Of course, it is the wilderness we're talking about, not like the city in Mexico or anything. But he is resourceful based on the resources he has. If he doesn't have his guns, he knows how to make a bow and arrow. He knows how to make traps. He knows how to hide and camouflage himself in such a way that he's difficult to see. He's very in tune with his environment and kind of uses that to his advantage. So I think it's part of his training, but he doesn't necessarily rely on the guns every time.
Okay. I get what you're saying there. Although I would argue, like with El Mariachi, I think El Mariachi he's an intelligent individual. He might not have like the ability to create traps or whatever, but I don't think he'd ever find himself in a trap to begin with. Because he does kind of have like the charisma. He does have like that look where they just wouldn't happen. I will say it's kind of hard because like he doesn't have those survival skill sets, but I think if anybody could overcome, he could, because he's driven by revenge, and that's all he's doing is just seeking revenge, and that level of drive I think would be able to kind of help him to survive, because he has this end goal that he has to reach. In terms of guns,
he's got a lot of them.
He's got a lot of them. So Dutch, of course, he has the M16 with the 203 attached. That's the name of that grenade launcher, by the way. He's got his machete. He's got his Desert Eagle. But El Mariachi, he's got, like a double-barreled shotgun at sawed off. He's got a bunch of pistols. He doesn't have as much in long range, I will admit. I don't think he really ever. I mean, he has a MAC-10 at one point, but I don't think he ever has like a long range rifle at any point. But he has like combat guns hidden. He has guns everywhere though, in his guitar case, in his actual guitar. He had like a special belt that looks like male genitalia that's actually a revolver. Like he's got all kinds of things going on.
That's probably the most important weapon he had.
It honestly is, yeah. I think he's a little more crafty as far as like his concealing his weapons. Admittedly, he's probably weapon-wise, he's probably a little bit lower power-wise when it comes to like the power of the weapons, but I think he has more of them.
That's fair. So you mentioned revenge. Now, this is not necessarily specific to these characters, but I will say sometimes revenge as a motive can cloud your judgment. Whereas with Dutch, he is there to rescue people. He's got an agenda. He has a mission, and he doesn't let things cloud his judgment on his mission. And that's kind of like his whole thing. He's so mad at Dylan because he kind of messed with his scenario. But his cause is a little more honorable. Not necessarily because El Mariachi's honorable. He's just a guy trying to protect himself. He's vengeful, but he's got. I think the fact that he has a mission and an agenda kind of would make him think more clearly in a combat scenario.
See, but the thing with that is, El Mariachi shows time and time again, even though revenge is his motivation, he's not so overcome with it that he's like he does think in like a more tactical, not want to say tactical way, but like he kind of thinks his steps through, and like Desperado, he's trying to find this guy so he can kill him, but he doesn't just go in like to like some compound where his cartel member lives and goes guns blazing. Like he has like his informant and get information from like these guys at a bar or whatever, so he can collect information and better approach what his mission is.
So he's resourceful in his own way.
He is resourceful in his own way, yes.
All right, interesting. Well,
and he's a better guitar player than Dutch for sure.
That is true. But I'll tell you what, he probably doesn't smoke a cigar as good as Dutch, because Dutch smokes that cigar like a boss, man.
That's true. And I will say, like, even though he does have a quest for revenge, he does have a kind of sense of honor to him, because he like you said, his motive is kind of questionable. It is, based on revenge, but he does try to go to church and attempts to confess and being forgiven. It doesn't really work because, like for example, where is this? I got a really good quote that kind of illustrates what I mean here. He's like, "Bless me, Father, for I have just killed quite a few men." So, but then he also says, give me strength to be what I was, and forgive me for what I am. So he wants to go back to like this more peaceful state.
Yeah. He's trying to get out of a tough situation.
Yeah.
Now, this is probably going to hurt me in my argument, but one thing the story of Dutch goes on after the Predator movie. I'm not as familiar with this because I haven't read the Predator comic books or anything, but he sort of, he gets radiation poisoning from the bomb the Predator put off, and he gets kind of sick, and he kind of he sort of goes on a quest for revenge. He kind of gets consumed by this pursuit of the Predator. And he wants to, he makes it his life's objective to get these predators. So he's looking for him for the rest of his life, even to this day, because Dutch is still alive as of 2025, which is a couple years from now. But so he's alive for a little bit longer. But he wants to chase after the predators, and it even gets to a point, and I hate to say it, but I got to tell it because I got to tell the whole story here. Dutch brings in some commandos as bait for the predator and lets the predator knock him out so that he can have a showdown with the predator. So he changes his tune as he goes on because he's so like he gets so hurt, and like he changes his perspective after he's been maybe some PTSD going on. I don't know, but he becomes kind of a vicious guy later. But with that comes he actually gets access to some predator equipment, and he becomes well versed in the predator weapons. And at some point, I really want to read this comic book. He actually puts the predator's helmet on. That is awesome. Seeing Dutch with the helmet on.
So what you're saying is he needs advanced technology by the aliens to fully be able to take on El Mariachi.
No, he doesn't need it.
That's what I heard.
So he obtains it, and because it's like he doesn't need it. I mean, he fought the predator with nothing but pants on. So
that's
he but he becomes because he now has these things at his fingertips if he needs them, and I think that's pretty significant. And even like this is kind of cool. At one point in time, a predator actually attacks him. You know that weird net thing they have that like kind of just it's like a net that comes down on you and cuts you.
The coolest weapon in the predator's arsenal.
A bunch of little pieces. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Anyway,
that thing is awesome.
A predator uses that on Dutch, and then they realize who he is. The predators gain respect for Dutch, and they don't end up killing him because they see him as like a colleague almost. Like, this is a guy who isn't like that good. I'm not going to kill him. So, but they did use the net on him, so he has a sweet scar of like a grid on his face, and that's pretty awesome.
I don't know. I feel like El Mariachi could take a predator if he had to.
Oh yeah, he could. I mean, that's interesting because I mean, the Predator does fight the cartel in Predator 2, so
it's true.
Ooh, the Predator stole El Mariachi's girl.
I hope. I mean, well, she's gonna be dead either way. So he does. Yeah. He really does have the worst luck of women. Like the first movie, of course, like he meets this girl, and that's like his whole thing. He just wants to fall in love and be like a romantic mariachi. Meets this girl, and then she gets killed, and then like, you know, he goes, which is what sets him on his quest for revenge in Desperado, and meets another girl, and then like she survives Desperado. They get married, but then in Once Upon a Time in Mexico, she gets killed. So it's like, so then he's on revenge, and his daughter as well. So then he's on like a revenge kick for his like now wife and daughter. It's like, dude, just stop with the ladies, man. They're just gonna all get killed by cartels.
You're freaking. It's Antonio Banderas, dude.
That's
like,
true.
He could like lock himself in a bomb shelter and ladies would find him still, man. That's just like how he is.
True.
He's just a magnet for that sort of thing.
Now, when you said Dutch brought in like additional personnel like to aid in his quest, that's not that far from El Mariachi. He did kind of, I mean, not in the same extent. He didn't use his as bait, but you know, he had like these buddies with like the really funky guitars. I don't know if you guys remember this. Yes. Like, one's a rocket launcher, everyone's like a machine gun. Yes. But like he kind of called these guys in. He's like, "Hey, man, I need your help. Bring the guitars." So they go, and they just get killed, and he like doesn't even seem to have any remorse about it. He's just kind of like, okay, whatever, I'm going to continue. And then Once Upon a Time in Mexico, he also brings in two buddies. I think one of them got killed. I don't remember for sure. I don't remember for sure. But yeah, like he kind of brings in extra people to like assist in his mission without really having a lot of regard for those characters themselves.
So it's interesting. In the Predator movie, Dutch has huge regard for his men. He handpicked them for this mercenary team he put together, and like he loves his men, except for Dylan. He kind of gets mad at Dylan. But after the whole thing happens, he kind of works solo, and he just kind of like he changes. Like I said, he's a pretty different person. I mean, to be honest, if I got attacked by a predator and survived, I might be a different person too. I might change my perspective on life a little bit too. But
you know who wouldn't change? El Mariachi.
That is true. El Mariachi is consistent.
He is consistent.
He is who he is, and there's he might be willing to kill a little bit more, but his whole goal is to like just kind of go back to his roots. I get that. I get that. Speaking of roots, so one thing I forgot to mention and is like I said, Dutch is a Vietnam veteran, and he was tortured by the Viet Cong. And I take this reference from the Xenopedia page. The prolonged interrogation that the Viet Cong gave him eventually caused him to become resistant to pain. Let me say that again. Dutch is resistant to pain. He can go and go and go. I mean, it could be his downfall because he'll go even when he's in pain, but he is resistant to it. That is significant. It could go a long way in a battle. Just saying.
Yeah, I suppose. I think El Mariachi kind of shows the same thing though throughout his whole career. Like well, I guess he doesn't. He's kind of bullet resistant. Because nobody ever shoots him.
They bend around him.
He doesn't really get injured, really, I don't think. But he is a little bit resistant because, like in the first movie, of course, the bad guy ends up shooting his guitar hand, which means he can't really play as well as he used to. But he still moves on from that, and he's still able to use his hand and guitar. So I guess there's some evidence that he's resistant to pain. Physically speaking, yeah, I think you're right. He doesn't have that, but emotionally speaking.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's gone through a lot, given all his loved ones get killed, and he's still going strong.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So both of our guys, in summary, before you have to make your decision, Dawson, I think both of our guys are hardened by circumstances that they were put in, and take life as it goes, and like just deal with the situation at hand. And they are tough because of it. They're tough dudes. They're both tough dudes. No doubt about it. No bones about it. I think with Dutch, I'm going to go back to resistant to pain, commando training, alien technology, and like commitment to the mission. And I think those are some really strong qualities that you'd want in a throwdown in a fighter.
I'm going to say, like, for El Mariachi, he doesn't have the physical strength of Dutch for sure. But what does have going for him is, one, he seems to be like incredibly lucky in combat. So there's that. He also is, the mission is first. Like he's driven, like 100% driven by his mission. He also is a lot more. He might not have the physical strength of Dutch, but he is a lot more agile than Dutch is, and we see that quite a bit in the movies. He's jumping off rooftops. He's like, climbing up like walls and stuff like that. Like he's got a lot of agility, and I think that he's got that going for him, which could be an advantage over Dutch, who's a little slower in his movements. I think he might not have like the tactical knowledge, but he definitely like is able to think through what he's doing. He is able to plan. So I think they're pretty evenly matched, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. It's a tough one, for sure. So Dawson, we're gonna pass it back over to you. We've both made pretty strong cases, I think. I will admit, Kevin made a strong case. I think I also made a strong case, though. I would be torn right now if I was you. It's definitely a tough call.
It's not a very easy call. You definitely have. I feel like I have to, when I'm looking at this case, the alien technology thing. I can't really look at that part of Dutch's life if I'm going to approach this fairly, because if El Mariachi comes against a guy with alien technology, I mean, he might not be able to hit him with the lasers or the whatever, but El Mariachi might be just running around and the net is just flutters over his head, and can't grab him. But most likely he's going to die. He's going to die a horrible death if, the alien technology is involved. I mean, none of his opponents have ever been invisible, to my knowledge. I mean,
that is true.
He probably got some lucky shots off, but I don't think the invisible. So Dutch can't have invisibility if he's going to fight El Mariachi. And El Mariachi has the luck, but I think as much as I want to say Dutch could overpower him easily, El Mariachi's friends could come in at the last minute with their guitars and just, work him over. I will have to say the Vietnam vet, the tactical knowledge, and just the wealth of battle experience. Dutch would probably kill El Mariachi.
That's fair.
I would.
I will submit. I do think it would be. I think it would be a very close match for sure.
Oh, for sure, it'd be a good battle.
But yeah, as soon as you said Dutch, I was like, this is gonna be a tough one. And I will readily admit that El Mariachi probably would lose against Dutch, but Dutch would have a hard time of it for sure.
And Dutch's El Mariachi's story would be a lot more dramatic and beautiful than Dutch's story in this situation. As the tale goes on for generations, people will remember El Mariachi more than this macho commando guy.
One of my favorite El Mariachi is like at the end of Desperado, when like he's with his new girlfriend, who sadly will die. But they're like driving, and he like leaves his guitar of guns on the side of the road because he didn't need them anymore or whatever, because he's finished his mission supposedly. And then they're driving, and then they like back up, and he's like grabs them. He's like, just in case. So you kind of get the impression that he kind of reaches a point where he sort of enjoys revenge, which is a little weird. It's a kind of a weird way to go.
So you think he's just like picking up these girls and like like stepping on the boots of the cartel members, like, hey, you guys want to take her too? You guys I'm
just take my women, go ahead, see what happens.
See what's gonna happen to you. I'm just gonna keep scuffing your boot.
So I like to think of a world where Anna from Predator, the other survivor of the Guatemala event, the girl they pick up, maybe she's the one for El Mariachi, bro.
That's probably how they end up in this situation to begin with. He's traveling around, finds Anna, and she's like, tells him about this alien and this Dutch guy. He's like, okay, whatever. And then
he's like, yeah, that's nice. And he's just like playing his guitar.
And then she gets killed.
Dude, she gets killed.
What about El Mariachi versus the Predator? That would be cool.
That would be an interesting one. I'd like to see that crossover.
Well, if any Hollywood types, especially Robert Rodriguez, if you happen to be listening to this podcast, because I know everyone who's a famous movie director and writer listens to this, make El Mariachi versus the Predator happen, please.
That would be amazing. It'd be so sweet. I'd be all over that.
Antonio Banderas and Arnold Schwarzenegger were both in the Expendables Part 3.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool. They would. I feel like they would be down for this then.
Yeah,
they probably talk about this all the time.
And Antonio Banderas' character in Expendables 3 is like he's like the reason to watch that movie. His character is really funny in that movie.
So think that they argue about this all the time? Do you think Arnold Schwarzenegger and Antonio Banderas are like on the phone? I think Dutch would kill you. So no, I am El Mariachi would kill you first.
At the end of the day, if it bleeds, Dutch can kill it.
And El Mariachi probably bleeds, provided you can shoot him, because that doesn't happen.
I can still
thank you for joining us, Dawson. It's good to have you there, Chief.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a good guest, and I of course appreciate you being here. Frankly, I'm surprised you chose me, because usually whenever Dawson has a chance to like mess with me, he will take it. And every other thing we do with our lives together, whether it's gaming or whatever, he screws me over all the time. So Dawson, I'm appreciative of this.
This is just bait for the next time. I'm just getting you buttered up for the next time.
To be fair, I did win last time.
Oh yeah, you did. Brendan chose your character. Oh yeah,
Rick Grimes
for the Shredder. Yeah.
No, that was an interesting. I think our most interesting one, though, I think overall, all these showdowns we do, because we always, of course, we pick random characters from different franchises and pit them against each other. I want to say one of the most, like the two strangest ones were probably Mario versus James Bond.
Yes.
And then like the Xenomorph versus Optimus Prime. That one was pretty crazy.
I don't know. Papa Smurf versus Voldemort is pretty wild.
That's true. Papa Smurf versus Voldemort was pretty good.
What was that
crazy.
One? The guy, Mr. Magoo versus somebody.
Bubba Fett.
Yeah, Mr. Magoo versus Bubba Fett.
Was awesome.
That was probably the most unlikely of all of them. Mr. Magoo versus Boba Fett.
I think I think this throwdown is likely. I mean, it's not probably won't ever actually happen unless they listen to our podcast, but like I could see these two characters existing in the same plane, whereas Boba Fett and Mr. Magoo never existed in the same plane. So, all right. Well, thanks again, and thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Yo, thanks for listening to this episode of the Brothers Born podcast. Special thanks to Dawson for hanging out with us this time. We haven't done an unlikely throwdown in a while, and it was nice to get back into it. I can't think of two cooler characters to kick us off again with Dutch from The Predator and El Mariachi from El Mariachi. If you have more ideas for unlikely throwdowns, submit them to us at brothersbornpodcast@gmail.com. Or check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/brothersbornpodcast. We love that you listen to our show, and thank you. Please share it with your friends, share it with your family. Tell the world about Brothers Born. Thanks again. See you next time.